Hey everyone, this is Stephen Strong at Cast Iron Cookware, where you can find information to help you better collect, restore, and use cast iron cookware. Last week I put out a video called Birmingham Stove and Range History and Number 7s. I had a whole lot more to say about Birmingham Stove and Range, but really didn't want to make the video too long. And I've had a lot of questions since then, and I thought I'd go ahead and throw a companion video out there just for this. Now this is going to be a short video, and we're going to talk about a few more pieces, and we're going to be doing that coming right up. Hey everybody, I just want to say welcome again to the Pan Cave. And you know, I've been working on this Pan Cave for a little bit, been working on my set, trying to get it in order so that I can do better videos. So we're almost there. I still haven't got the logo behind my back. I've got my countertop in, and I got my pegboard up, and I've got it painted. And I went ahead and hung all of my cast iron up just to see how it's going to fit. Later on, I'm going to be moving part of those out of the center and moving them toward the sides to make room for my logo. So I'm going to pan around the room and kind of show you where we're at. We've got a lot more room to maybe put another 100 or so pieces on that side. Of course, we have some odd pieces on the left, my Birmingham Stove and Range Century, some odd pieces in the middle, a little bit of Martin Stove and Range. I got a lot of Dutch ovens there in the bottom, assorted ones. There's my Red Mountain, and then there's my Cornstick pans. I got a few oddball pieces right there, and of course I have a little bit more room to add some more right there. So all in all, I've got enough room to probably add maybe 200 more pieces before I start getting in trouble for space again. So I'm really excited about it. So let's get on into the video. This is my Birmingham Stove and Range S series. Now we see the 7S right there. Now it's not a mold mark, it's a series mark. So we have our number 3, which is a 3S. Now that's not a mold mark, it's the series. And if you notice, it's got wider pour spouts. This one probably needs another layer to seasoning. And we also have our telltale ridge and our teardrop hanger hole Birmingham Stove and Range. That is the 3. And here is the number 5. Get a better look. Here is the 5S. Here's the 5 size and series designation. Of course, we have the large pour spouts and the telltale signs of BSR. We have the 3rd installment, which is the 7S. And of course, it has the large pour spouts as well. Now, with this S series, it is still Red Mountain, and they only made the 3, the 5, and the 7. They didn't make any others for some reason. I think it was due to they were trying to compete a little bit with some makers who made a smaller skillet. So what they done is they took, for the number 7S, they took the mold for the Red Mountain 6 and used it for the 7. They also took the mold for the Red Mountain number 4 for the number 5S. And occasionally, I've seen this quite a bit, where there is a buttered over ghost mark. Now this one doesn't have a ghost mark. And if you ever wonder what a ghost mark is is where they took a pan and they buttered over the old letters. And I'm not really sure what particular chemical or, spackle or whatever they used, but they would butter over it with some kind of cement that they had made. And then they would sell it as an unmarked. Now, Wagner did that, and Griswold, a lot of the companies did. They sold those as an economical piece or economy piece to places like Sears and Roebuck and lesser department stores. And they sold their marked pieces at places like Macy's and asked a lot more for them. So the unmarked pieces a lot of times are just as good as the marked pieces. But like I was saying, you'll see a number 4 ghost mark on a lot of these 5S's. You'll just see kind of just a little bit of haze, and what happens is as they use the mold, that buttered over will wear down little by little, and then you would start seeing the ghost mark. And that's true with all the other ghost marks that you'd run across. A lot of times they'd sell molds to other companies, and they would use the molds and butter over and put their own name on there. Eventually the logo or the letters would start showing through. So back to the Red Mountain series. The number 4 is one of the rarest skillets for Birmingham Stove and Range, and I have seen them be valued anywhere from $300 to $400. But the number 5 is the same as the number 4. Like I said, the number 7 is the same as the number 6. Now, I have never seen a number 6 ghost mark on a 7. I'm not saying they don't exist, but you just don't see them. They probably are out there somewhere. If you got one, I'd love to have a picture of it. And the number 3S, now they didn't have a number 2 to make the mold, so they had to make a brand new mold for the number 3S. So there you go, you have the Red Mountain S series skillets, the number 3S, 5S, and 7S. Now, I'm not sure the exact age. I do know that they were made somewhere in the Red Mountain period. Now, next up, we're going to be talking cornstick pans. Now, I have 2 cornstick pans right here. Now, I have 8 of these, and whenever I cook cornbread, I use all 8. And sometimes I'll do 2 batches. I usually have 112 pieces. And we have 2. We have one right here. This is what is indicative of the Red Mountain series. We have large letters. We have the 7S 7-stick cornstick pan. And we also have a mold mark, which is a Y. And this is Red Mountain series. Now, there might be a little bit of overlap on up into the century, but I kind of doubt it. I believe this is probably going to be exclusive Red Mountain era for this particular one. Now, I have an example right here of a century series. And so we have the smaller letters right there. That is more indicative of the century series. So I have an example of each, Red Mountain and century. Of course, century series started probably around 50-ish, maybe 54, somewhere around in there. And that's why the name century series came into play. It was mid-century. So that kind of ran on through all the way until they went out of business in 1991. But the Red Mountain went from the 1920s all the way up into the 50s. So that is 2 examples of the Red Mountain and Century Series cornstick pan. Now, you'll notice that Birmingham Stove and Range will always have this little M-shaped handle. One of my subscribers kind of coined the phrase bottle cap openers, but it looks like an M. Probably, maybe for mountain, I'm not really sure. The little dip, stylized, but it does look kind of like a bottle cap opener. And I've got a little bit of a treat here. I have another Red Mountain cornstick pan, and it is a lot larger. Of course, it still has the little M-shaped handle that is indicative of Birmingham Stove and Range. Of course, the corn rows are alternating, one going one way and then the other back and forth. I believe that was a great design because back in the day, when you set your cornbread in there, because they were alternated, it was set flat. You know, we see Lodge that they have made some where all of them were pointed the same way, and some of the other makers as well. And they will put a little bump to kind of level it out, but Birmingham Stove and Range didn't have to do that because they stayed level because of the alternations. But here we go, a comparison. This is the large Birmingham Stove and Range cornstick pan, and here is the small. Let me back up where you can see the difference. It is a huge difference. Now, you don't see very many of the large ones. I got really lucky on this one. I won it on Iron Man auctions. Check it out if you're looking for cast iron and you would like to learn a little bit about values with cast iron. You can join Iron Man Cast Iron Auctions group on Facebook. You don't have to buy anything. You can just click and look and see how much things are going for. You actually see pieces being sold and get an accurate sale price. Now remember, when people buy on there, they're actually paying shipping too. So if a piece sells for say $50, a lot of times they'll have to add another $15 or $20 shipping. So if a piece sells for $50, it's really valued somewhere around maybe $65 or $70, depending on how heavy it is and how much the shipping is. And if you would like to go and search the history, you can just go into the Facebook group and search, say, Birmingham Stove and Range Cornstick Pan. You may find one of these large ones and it'll give you an idea of what the value is. So that is a really good group to check out. Now we have another Birmingham corn pan, a cornstick pan, and it is called the Handy Dan Cornstick Pan. And it is basically Century Series. You can tell by the lettering. It's got Made in USA. This is probably in the late 60s because of the Made in USA era. By the way, with the telltale signs of Birmingham Stove and Range usually being the ridged handle, this does not have it. The handle looks a little different right here as well. It's more like the chef skillet and the square skillet, which we're going to show you here in just a minute. And this is called the Handy Dan Cornstick Pan. And they actually came out with one that they call an Eddie Bauer trout pan. I know you're probably saying Birmingham Stove and Range didn't make the trout pan. And there is a lot of speculation, did they or did they not? I think some new information has kind of risen up that kind of lets us know that very likely, I'm not saying absolute, that Birmingham Stove and Range actually made the Eddie Bauer trout pan, or at least made the mold. And it'll be just like this, except for it'll have trouts instead of corn. And here I have a chef skillet that has had a little bit of time on my channel. This one here was wire wheel damage and pretty much in almost unusable condition. Now collectability pretty much gone, but it's still a user because I have worked on it and fixed it. But the chef skillet has this shape handle. Of course, it has a ridge on the back, which you don't see on the Handy Dan, but it's an elongated handle. Of course, we also have, it says 10-chef. And on top of that, it has a little mark right here, and that is a quality control mark. We'll talk about that here in just a minute. I'll leave this one out so I can use it as an example. Another one with elongated handle is the square skillet. And we have here, we have Made in USA, and we have the size and square skillet. And this is another piece that was really messed up really badly with a wire wheel. But this is the elongated handle, which is very much like the one on the chef skillet. And as well, even though it's elongated, you have the ridge on the back. Now some of the larger pieces, like the number 12s and the number 14s, will have less prominent ridges on the back. Some of them even more than others. Some of them are almost round where you don't even see a ridge at all. I've seen both kinds. So don't just say because it doesn't have a ridge, it's not BSR, because there are some exceptions. Now here is a neat little skillet right here. This is called a Lady Best series. Now with the Lady Best, you're gonna have the Made in USA, you're gonna have the descriptive size, you're gonna have the wood handle. Now they come out with a Cornbread handle, and they were white, more like a porcelain plastic kind of handle. And you don't see very many of them. They were only popular on the West Coast for just a little while. And this is a nice little skillet. Now, there was probably about a dozen pieces in the Lady Best series, and they came out in 1976 as kind of a bicentennial commemoration piece. And it ran for quite a few years, probably, you know, probably on up until they went out of business. I'm not really sure the length of service that these had, but they were made with the ability to accept a glass lid. The sizes are a little different. This one right here says number 6, and it's more like a number 3 size. But I have another that says it's a number 10, and it's more like a number 8. Let's take a look here. And it's nice and heavy. This is a nice heavy skillet. Now, it's pretty smooth as far as the more modern ones are concerned. It doesn't look like it's been milled, but they took a little bit of care in, you know, making it smooth. Nice little pan. Lady Bess. Like I said, there's about a dozen or so pieces in that series. I only have 2 of them. Looking for the rest. We were talking about cornstick pans a little bit earlier, but now we're going to talk about the cornbread skillet. Now this has got a little bit of oil from the last time I used it. Didn't get it wiped out as good as I probably need to, but this is a 8-slice Birmingham Stove and Range cornbread skillet with patent pending. Of course, it has the telltale ridge and the teardrop hanger handle that you see on most BSRs. And this is the patent pending. Now these came out in 1967, and I've told this story before. One of the foremans of the floor, his wife said, I would like to have a cornbread pan with the dividers in it. Can you make me one? And I believe he finally went and asked, said, hey, can I make one of these and just see how it turns out? Said, yeah, sure, go ahead. And that year, it became one of their biggest sellers, and it was a hot seller. Probably kept them from going out of business sooner than they did. And they put patent pending on those, and these come out in 1967 with a patent pending mark. Now you'll see them, I believe, with a patent pending on them for a couple of more years. A lot of people say they were only in 1967. But I'm kind of learning that they kind of went through maybe 68 and maybe even 69 before they came out. Now this one here is in rough shape. Before they came out with the Made in USA. Of course, this one here needs a lot of work. But I've got 2. I've got a patent pending and a regular. So if you're going to collect these, it's good to get one of each just to kind of have the history in one place. They also came out with a 6 CBS 6-wedge cornbread skillet. And it also has patent pending. It has 6 little slices, and the hole doesn't go all the way through. It looks like a number 3 in size. Of course, we have the little ridge and the teardrop hanger handle hole. And these are nice. They make little bitty bite-sized pieces of cornbread. Now I've got a couple of them, and I really like them. And they're not rare, but they're a little harder to find. The 6-wedge and the 8-wedge and all these other cornbread skillets are really tough to clean. They're really knuckle busters. Okay, we're going to go back to what we were talking about earlier on this little chef skillet. This little jewel right here is a Phillips head screw. That was placed in the mold that they were thinking or suspect to have issues. That is a quality control mark. It's not a mold mark. They would put a screw in the mold, then they'd watch the pieces come down line. They'd pull this thing out and say, well, here's one with a screw head in it, but it's fine, there's nothing wrong with it. Okay, that mold's good, take the screw out, put it in another mold, and we'll keep looking. So this one was pretty cool. It's a flathead quality control mark. We also have the Phillips head control mark, or a quality control mark. I tried to make this video short and not just be unbearingly long. I hope that you've enjoyed it and got some information out of it and learned a little bit more about Birmingham Stove and Range, my favorite maker by far, hands down. So I hope that you've enjoyed it, and if you would like, you can follow Cast Iron Cookware on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can also check out our Facebook group called Cast Iron Cookware. We would love for you to be a part of our group, especially if you are a cast iron cookware lover. If you would like to support this channel in a more monetary way, check out Cast Iron Cookware on Patreon. Don't forget to subscribe if you've enjoyed this video and would like to see more. Hit the notification bell, that way you won't miss out on new videos when they come out. And thank you again for being a part and watching Cast Iron Cookware.